Today I want to focus on something ancient and mysterious. On something so old, that only the last ice age is older than it. The ancient Stonehenge, older than the well-known Stonehenge in the United Kingdom or the pyramids of Giza. Those who built it predate pottery, metallurgy, the invention of writing, the wheel and the beginning of agriculture. Scientists say that for post-Ice Age era hunter-gatherers it was simple. I think it's the same, that a monkey to make a Porsche, and then forgetting everything for millennia. Because, someone who can't read, how then can he write a book? Hi everyone who is interested in more than just games. The so-named Turkish Stonehenge, the first temple in history, known as Göbekli Tepe, was built at the end of the last ice age by hunter-gatherers. While up to the wheel and the first occurrence of the writing was left to wait for more than 5,000 years, hunter-gatherers built this temple of intricate construction. That's what scientists say. But how could the nomadic and solitary tribes of the hunter-gatherers of the post-Ice Age period create such a structure that would require not only sophisticated technology, but also architectural and mathematical knowledge, to build this even in our period? Official science responds that it has not previously appreciated the abilities of Neolithic hunter-gatherers, and Göbekli Tepe is forcing a re-examination of our revolutionary history. It doesn't matter that the post-Ice Age tribes didn't lead a sedentary life and didn't or little communicate with each other, had no writing and counting, couldn't process metal and had no beasts of burden. Göbekli Tepe, a structure that was bigger and more complicated than our huts, in which the hunter-gatherers lived. Göbekli Tepe bypasses the evolution of our civilization for 5,000 years, when, 4,000 years BC, the prosperous Sumerian super-civilization, what official science calls the Mesopotamian civilization, emerged from nowhere in present-day southern Iraq. It was the Sumerians were the founders of the first sedentary community order, whose society was divided into classes ruled by the Ensi lords. The social pursuit of a common goal and the communication between the individual classes in Sumer of Mesopotamia. Was this the individual tribes of hunter-gatherers of the Neolithic period did not have, and to which scientists attribute the construction of the Göbekli Tepe temple? While most researchers and scholars around the globe agree that human civilization exists some 12,000 years on our planet, there are countless discoveries that point towards a much different past. There are many findings ranging from temples, structures, and artifacts that are evidence of advanced civilizations that inhabited Earth much sooner than mainstream scholars suggest. However, many of these incredible findings have been considered as impossible due to the fact that they alter our written history in every possible way. Will Göbekli Tepe will not be one of such temple? The discovery of this stunning site in the 1990s sent shockwaves through the archaeological world and beyond. The site isn't just old, it redefines old. The temple was built 11,500 years ago, 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza, and more than 6,000 years before Stonehenge first took shape. Göbekli Tepe are so early that they predate villages, pottery, domesticated animals, metallurgy, the invention of writing, the wheel and the beginning of agriculture. Göbekli Tepe is found approximately 16 kilometers northeast of Şanlıurfa, an ancient city in southeastern Turkey once named Edessa, and known as the City of the Prophets. The temple were discovered by a German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt. Found in the cradle of civilization, Göbekli Tepe is rightfully named. The temple consists of 4 arrangements of monolithic pillars linked together by segments of coarsely built dry stone walls to form a series of circular or oval structures. There are 2 large pillars in the center of each complex which are encircled by slightly smaller stones facing inward. The megaliths themselves, 43 of which have been unearthed so far, are mainly T-shaped pillars of soft limestone, has a height of up to 6 meters and weighs up to 10 tons. Geophysical surveys on the hill indicate that there are as many as 250 more megaliths lying buried around the site, suggesting that another 16 complexes once existed at Göbekli Tepe. Unlike most discoveries from the ancient world, Göbekli Tepe was found intact. Around 8000 BC, the temple deliberately was buried under mountains of soil and settlement refuse, such as flints and animal bones, brought from elsewhere. Why was this done, and who did it, is still unknown. But this backfilling is the main reason why the site has been preserved after so many thousands of years. Although some of the standing stones at Göbekli Tepe are blank, others display extraordinary artwork. Most startling is the elaborate carving, found on about half of the 50 pillars. There are a few abstract symbols, but the site is almost covered in graceful, naturalistic sculptures and bas-reliefs of the animals. Wild boar and cattle are depicted, scorpions, snakes, vultures, waterfowl, insects and arachnids, along totems of power and intelligence, like lions, foxes, and leopards. Many of the biggest pillars are carved with arms, including shoulders, elbows, and jointed fingers. There are also one relief of a naked woman, posed frontally in a birth-giving position. Before Göbekli Tepe, humans drew stick figures on cave walls, shaped clay into tiny dolls, and perhaps piled up small stones for shelter or worship. Even after Göbekli, there is little evidence of sophisticated building. Dating of ancient sites is highly contested, but Çatalhöyük, a very large Neolithic and Chalcolithic proto-city settlement in southern Anatolia, is probably about 1,500 years younger than Göbekli, and features no carvings or grand constructions. Huge temples did emerge again, but the next unambiguous example dates from 5,000 years later, in southern Iraq, when the first Sumerian cities forts of Mesopotamia with a population of up to 80,000, simply emerged from nowhere. How can it be that after Göbekli Tepe, Neolithic hunter-gatherers did not build anything like the Göbekli Tepe for millennia? Perhaps they are not the real builders of Göbekli Tepe. Perhaps they only used the already built temple, which later, around 8000 BC, do not know by whom, do not know why, was buried under stacks of garbage. The planning and building of such a site as Göbekli Tepe would have required a degree of organization and resources hitherto unknown in hunter-gatherer societies. Curiously, Schmidt and his team have so far found no evidence of settlement at Göbekli Tepe. Houses, cooking hearths, and refuse pits are all absent. Such a sophisticated Neolithic post-Ice Age building could not suddenly emerge from nowhere. If it was built by hunter-gatherers, they had to live here, cook, hunt, make tools, finally, give birth to children and die. But all of this is not, and Schmidt ignores it and raises various theories. It is more as if Schmidt were playing with the building blocks of civilization, looking for combinations that worked. For example, in Schmidt's opinion, the site was an important location for a cult of the dead, and although no definite burials have been discovered so far, he believes they will be found. As long as only a tiny fraction of the incredible site of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated, we can never know for sure why it was built and why it was buried and abandoned. One thing is certain: Göbekli Tepe has many more fascinating secrets to reveal.